Hey, so for today's episode, we're going to talk about CRMs and which tool your industrial sales team needs to use.
Welcome to IndustrialSage, a free video podcast series all about digital marketing for industrial manufacturers. Hear interviews with your peers and find out how they're solving the same challenges that you might be facing in your own field. Coming to you from the Optimum Production Studio in Atlanta, Georgia, this is IndustrialSage.
All right, so CRM, we're going to talk about this. This is something that we've talked about a good little bit, and it comes up a lot because it's exciting. And there's a lot of companies right now that are going through this digital transformation piece, which we've talked about a lot, not just in the operations, but also in the front office piece when it comes to sales and it comes to marketing. And a big part of that conversation is your CRM tool. A lot of companies still are relying on a spreadsheet or some antiquated system or something that doesn't really talk well. And part of the problem is that, with the new ways that we're going to market, with the new technologies and the speed of information that we need, a lot of these systems need to catch up. And if you have one, if you don't have one, you need one. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about today is what should, if I have an industrial sales team, what CRM tool should I use? What do you think, David?
Well, I think the first thing that we hear from the marketing side is the sales team doesn't want to use it. It's, it's tedious, it's cumbersome.
Right.
They think, hey, I need to be out there selling, not entering in a bunch of data.
Right.
So, I couldn't agree more. Mm-hmm. It feels like you're slowing down when you think it should be helping you.
Right.
So a lot of the tools now are making it even more easy to input that data or input it for you.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at Salesforce or a Microsoft Dynamics, HubSpot, they're all great tools. And even when we look at our survey, we surveyed almost 200 industrial organizations, manufacturing organizations, and they said 34% of them are using Salesforce.
Yep.
So
not a surprise there.
Not a surprise.
The big 800-pound gorilla.
Yep. Then we have 12% using Microsoft Dynamics. So I'd say maybe a couple of years ago, I would cringe and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're using that. No wonder you don't like your CRM. But now you're seeing a lot of improvements. I think they're really trying to answer to the user that's using it.
Yep.
And then you're looking at maybe a little guy that's new, still publicly traded, but a HubSpot.
Yeah.
So free CRM. So you kind of eliminate your excuse for your organization. So looking at those kind of three robust options, you kind of don't have an excuse to use one.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And, I think especially, I think that one of the big shifts that we're seeing, and this will help to sort of justify that expense and making that shift, it is really getting a sense of looking at that customer journey and making it really easy to buy. I think that's when you have if you've got a lot of competition, or you've got a commodity as a product, it's very hard to be able to compete on price alone, and typically that happens a lot. But one of the ways of being able to answer that is just looking at your sales process. Look at how your customer service dealing with your organization. Is that easy? Is it frictionless, or is it full of friction?
Right. And that's where I think from the marketing side of the organization, it's how can I get more data to be able to take action on,
right,
and get the sales qualified leads in front of my sales team.
Right.
And so your CRM is really going to either help or hinder.
Right.
So when you can have form fields on your website that autocomplete, or when the person puts in their email address, it can automatically fill in their website URL and the company name, and maybe pull in public information like the phone numbers and things like that. Okay, that to me is time saving, helps you qualify those leads way better, much faster. That's what a CRM can do.
Yeah.
So put those tools at your sales team's fingertips to sell better. Versus where's this information? What's their website again? Things like that.
Spending 30 minutes or whatever just doing that basic research on a company. One of the things that I love is you hear about sales automation a lot, and sometimes automation gets a little bit of a bad rap when it comes to sales and marketing, because sometimes people think, oh, you set it and forget it and that's it. And no, do not do that. But I think there's some really cool tools that a lot of companies, I've had a lot of conversations with manufacturers over the last several years, and just sharing like these simple little features and these really cool tools. People are just, their minds are blown. For example, the ability for you to be able to send an email, like a sales email, send it to a prospect, let me say after a trade show. And if you're following up, or you want to send them some sales deck or something, to be able to actually have analytics and data to be able to see that they opened that email and see that they actually clicked through on there, that's mind blowing to some to people. And it's still the reality of it is it's still new technology, but it's super powerful. So instead of just sending that one email to somebody and hope you have no idea, did they open it, did they look at it, you're getting that information right there, and that's going to help you from a sales standpoint to say, okay, they got. I'm not freaking out. Did they get it or did they not get it? And okay, they got it. Oh, they opened it one time. That's great. Oh, they opened it 20 times. Oh, that means they forwarded it on. Okay, this is good. I'm going to wait before I pester them again.
Exactly. So it's giving you actionable data that helps you focus where you're going to spend your time.
Right.
So in sales, it's numbers. You got to do a lot. Have the data work for you.
Right.
And it's not just, oh, they opened my email. Great. It's knowing, well, based on that information, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
What's the next step?
Yeah.
Well, when they don't reply to it, it's being able to have that the sequence set up so that 3 days from now, they're getting another valuable email from you, which hopefully they're opening and sharing within their organization.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There's no lack of CRMs out there. There's a ton. I don't know, we listed off sort of the top 3 based off a survey, and there was a handful of other ones. I think Zoho is probably number 4 on that list. Maybe there's, and there's a few others. No lack of them.
Yeah, there was a big bucket of everything else. And so when you're that scattered, it's hard to pull anything, of value out of that.
Right. So what would you say, some ideas around somebody that's like, hey, we think we need this. What are some ideas around evaluating which tool might work best?
Well, a little while ago we had Cassie from Ad Victoriam on, and she went into a lot of those questions that you might ask. So it's how does a CRM fit into your overall sales process? And that's not just from inbound lead or an outbound lead coming in to where they buy, but even post-purchase through that entire life cycle. Because customer service can be involved, and that can be powered by the CRM. So she goes into a lot of great details. So I think we can include that in the show notes of a much more detailed response.
Absolutely.
But it's definitely you're looking at it touching every aspect of your organization.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing, a way of looking at it is, instead of it just being a siloed tool that's just strictly used for let's just call it just outbound communication, from a sales standpoint, it really is, and they're depending on which ones you get, but definitely these top 3 can be a lot more, there are a lot more sophistication to them, and they can be configured to really help support the whole business operations piece. And I think that is sometimes where people, they kind of misunderstand, the value of it. I'll give you a really good example. I've talked with a lot of companies in the past, and a big thing, and you're starting to see this a lot more, is the ability for CPQ. So configure, price, quote. If you're not familiar with that, so really fancy word for. I think you got a good story about the BMW story. Do the BMW story.
So got an email from BMW on their latest model that they're coming out with, and I have a certain affinity to BMW, just a little bit.
I like Audis, but anyways.
So it gave me this option, configure your custom BMW. And okay, I'm probably not going to be able to afford right now my dream BMW per se, but being able to build out that customization, super easy. I'm doing it on my phone, and then realizing, hey, here's a $180,000 vehicle that is absolutely gorgeous. You know, I'm going to save that in my favorites folder for later.
Okay.
You know, some goals.
180. All right. Yeah.
You know, just 180. It's not your Ferrari.
Yeah. No. I'd have a hard time. I don't know. I'd probably buy a plane with that. So, anyways, I don't want to digress. But sorry. It must have been a really nice BMW though.
Oh, gorgeous. It was fast enough.
Okay. Fast enough. Okay. It's all right. It meets some certain criteria. All right. That's good. Well, I think that's, I think it's an interesting thing because that's obviously from a consumer standpoint. I think you're seeing the same thing on a B2B purchase, and especially when you have these purchases that are a lot more complex. It's a great starting point just to get a sense of like, hey, the ability to be able to, just like with the CRM or these other tools, be able to customize a part or a tool or a machine that's be able to fit my specific use case, that they're areas that, maybe the engineers, the product teams have not even thought of yet, that you're like, well, I have a specific thing and I can kind of build it on and kind of do my own thing, I think is great. And the ability to be able to sort of own that data and that process inside of a CRM tool that they can talk back and forth is huge, because I think a lot of companies, there's a lot of, we've got the distributors or dealers who are working with large equipment where, you're coming in, you've got your order form and let me put this in, let me see what it is, and I got to submit it. Maybe you do have a digital system and it's all, it's online somehow, but then, if it's not connected through a central storage unit, if you will.
Paper is slow.
It's a little.
So if you're dealing with paper,
Yeah.
okay, it's too many people have to touch it.
Yeah.
There's room for error.
A lot of room for error.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're still going to digitize it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's true.
So what's better? Start with paper.
Right.
Or have it on a cloud system that everyone can access within milliseconds of that data being in there.
Exactly.
And it's even user-generated data.
Well, absolutely. And the other piece too is that, you have multiple entries. So if somebody's literally writing here, you mentioned there's prone to error, and then somebody's got to take that in and digitize it at that point. So you're doing that step twice, and who knows how many more other times, which is going to increase the error rate, not to mention the speed aspect. So I think that, it's just one example of using this technology inside your ecosystem to be able to help to really create a much better experience for your customer, to increase the speed of being able to do that, which is going to really ultimately help to affect, which, we'll talk a little bit later about reducing that sales, cycle time.
Is it 3 days to get a quote? Or 3 minutes.
Right, yeah.
You tell me which one's going to provide a better experience.
Right.
I think 3 minutes.
Well, I think, to that point, like, we talked with Xometry, probably about a year ago. They, you're seeing a lot of these different companies kind of pop up that are really thinking forward like that. And if you think about it, if you're not familiar with Xometry, they're kind of like the Airbnb or the Uber of custom manufacturers. If you want to go get a quote, you set up a 3D CAD file if you want to do something in a small batch, and it'll kick out a list of people and with the price and everything. You're seeing more of that, right? And I think that's just helping to make it easier, so that for me, I can get to what I need to get to my customer. I can get it better, hopefully faster, and hopefully cheaper. That's really kind of where everything is going. So, anyways, I know we could probably go on and on and on about it. There's some really, really, really cool stuff that you can do with this.
I think the biggest takeaway is the CRM is really going to help your organization versus hinder it.
Yeah.
But you need that top-down buy-in and implementation.
Right. Yeah. And I agree 100% with that. And I think the other piece too is maybe dovetailing a little bit as far as like tricks on how to maybe get some of that buy-in on the lower end from the salespeople standpoint, is instead of it coming necessarily from a top-down, saying we have to do this, because sometimes there's a perception of, oh, we need the reporting and you have to do this, and the guy, your sales team's like, are we freaking data entry people, or like what's going on? Well, no, actually, let's look at these tools that's going to help make your job easier. So maybe instead of talking to these trade show people that I got to send up 50 email follow-ups. Well, guess what? We can do that. Create one, template it out, and then fire it off to all of them, instead of saying copy, repeat, whatever, do all this stuff. So there's a lot of tools that these CRMs have that really help to automate that process, just like we're automating process in the manufacturing plant on the floor. So.
And when you're automating it and you're using that process, you're tracking data.
Yeah.
Okay, not just, okay, they opened it or not, but did they take action after that? And if they did, hey, that means your email that you're writing is very effective.
Yep.
Wouldn't you like to know that out of the prospects that you're sending an email to, let's make up a number, 50% are then taking action? Or is it lower? Is it 10% take action? Well, I'd probably write a different email.
Yeah. So a lot of really great things we could do here. You know what we should do later? I'm going to get in trouble for saying this. It'd be really cool if we had like a comparison chart, like of the different CRMs and checkboxes and different things to be able to help companies. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe not.
Yeah. We can work towards it.
I'll shut my mouth. Okay. All right. So that's all we got for you today with this episode of Industrial Sage. I hope you liked it. Listen, if you have some questions, if a particular topic of interest or a concern or something you'd love for us to address on the show, reach out. You can go to industrialsage.com/questions. If you're listening on the podcast, listen, we'd love a review. And if you're not subscribed, you need to go to industrialsage.com and sign up for all the newsletter alerts. We've got tons of content coming down the pipe that you don't want to miss. So that's all I got for you today. I'm signing off, and I'll see you next week with another episode here on Industrial Sage.